I need like I mean, in the control booth, that's going to go. And then all I have to do is start talking. That'd be all right. And then let me drop the link on you. Okay. Boom. There we go. All right, we're rolling. What's up? What's happening? What's the haps?
Just chilling.
Yeah. But seriously, we're almost out of the semester. That's just such a beautiful thing. The thing about college is that no matter how well you do, it just ends. Like you get an A, you get a B, you flunk, the semester ends. You know, you know what I mean? It's not like some open-ended thing. So, all right. Anyway, it's seriously, it's one of the coolest thing. Nikos. When is Nikos? Oh, we decided, because I'm on Max Immunity Day a week from Thursday. So I think we decided, you threw me there for a second because Nico is spelled with a C, Braden. So 22nd is Max Immunity Day, which means either the 26th or the 28th is Nico's Day. And I think we should do it. It doesn't matter to me when we do it. Did we actually decide? I don't think. Fair enough. On the Nikos with a K because Japanese, in honor of Hideki Matsuyama, the first Japanese uh, uh, male golfer ever to win a major tournament, and the first Japanese golfer to win the Masters, and almost blew it, by the way, yesterday. If you follow golf, it was pretty amazing. Okay. What do you think? What do you think? Nico's, well, when I see Nico's with a K, I think it's Greek. You know what I mean? But when I see Nico with a C, I think it's Italian. Turns out it is. Okay, what do you think? What day? What do you want to do it? We get to do it whenever we want to, one of those 2 days. And I think we should do it like during class time. I think we should meet down there at 2:30. It allows us to get a bigger group, get a couple tables. I'll be Mr. Post-COVID vaccine max immunity. I don't want to put anybody at risk. No, it has to be Monday or Wednesday, yo. Today's Monday, right? Yeah. Yeah, it should be like, like you're killing me, man. Monday the 26th or Wednesday the 28th. Those are our options. Um, so by the way, I just want to say that even though I'm rolling out into post, max immunity day. Oh, by the way, I have my second Moderna shot, right? On Thursday afternoon. I was a little woozy Thursday afternoon. For some of you that are in 305G, I bailed on class. I was feeling just woozy, kind of weak and little weak and woozy. Not like crazy, not like, deathbed or anything. And slept like 10 hours. Then I was really fatigued on Friday, very fatigued, couple hour nap and then slept 11 hours, that kind of thing. And then by Saturday, I was like, fine. A little groggy. You can't sleep, 14 hours out of 16 or whatever and not be a little groggy. But other than that, I felt great. Never had a fever, never had a headache, never had chills, never had any really adverse effects other than just fatigue. I was glad I blocked out some time to get through it all, but that was great. So that's my health report about that. But what I don't want to do is set up, like an inadvertent super spreader event, where what do we got? 13 of us, and um, you know what I mean? I don't want to be like, I'm all good, so let me all drag you into an unsafe setting. You know what I mean? I'm sensitive to that. I don't know how many of you have had a chance to either that you've had it, you either had COVID or you've had the vaccination, thorough. So any sense about that? That's my biggest thing is I don't want to create an unsafe environment for everybody. You know what I mean? Even though I'm Mr. Happy now, all of a sudden, a week from Thursday, I'll be Mr. Happy. Thoughts?
I think a lot of people here have the online classes, so their exposure to other people will probably be pretty low. So there's a low chance of getting it from the other people in the class is one. And I've got my first shot as well. I don't know how much that confers.
I think it actually
And there
confers
may
like 80%. I think it actually gets you to like 70 or 80%.
yeah.
That's my
So
understanding of
so
things.
there may be other people who've gotten their shots as well, and I don't know. I'm totally fine with it happening. I I feel comfortable with it, and I really want it to happen. So
Okay. Well,
maybe a little motivated reasoning,
yeah, no,
but
I'm with you, Sam.
I think if everybody's been social distancing well and is kind of responsible, and even some people have had their vaccines, then
Yeah,
I really think there's
I
no harm
I think you're the voice of
likely.
reason here, Sam. Like always, Sam is the voice of reason. Um, and some of you are like, what? Um, yeah, it's Nico's in Provo. It's on Bulldog Boulevard, right across the street, basically from that whole medical hospital plaza, whatever stuff. It's just to the east, continuing down Bulldog Boulevard. Right in the same parking lot as the Neaters, as the Caneaters. Braden, we got a hot mic with a dog sound or something kind of rippling through. Yeah, so I would just say, yeah, man, 2:30 on. So what did we decide? Monday or Wednesday of the last day of the semester? We have one vote for Monday, Blake, who's, you know, I don't know, no credibility there, Blake. Why am I picking on Blake? I have no idea, Blake. It's just like, I don't know, something about you today that I just decided to pick on. Stephen goes both. Well, I think you meant either, but hey, I appreciate the enthusiasm. Let's go. Let's figure it out. Okay, let's get a vote. Let's do survey time. Survey. Um, how can we set up a nice, let's see, which day? What are the things that are available to us? Do we have letters, numbers, M or W?
Cool. Thank you very much.
Can we go, Braden? I think you got hot mic, yo.
Oh, sorry about that.
Hey, it's all right. Okay, let's do that.
I just called Nico's.
You just
They
what?
said that on Monday and Wednesday at 2:30 they are pretty good, and they have 8 people per table, and the tables are pretty close, and they probably wouldn't say anything if we moved the tables a little closer together.
Okay, there you go. All right, we've got. Appreciate that, Braden. We've got Wednesday and Monday inexplicably reverse ordered. I think Steven's trying to game the vote, but so I'm shifting from Blake to Steven for my animosity for no particular reason. Uh, give a quick vote, okay? Wednesday or Monday, and it's all the same to me. The nice thing about Wednesday is that it's like last day of the semester, celebrationist celebration, and we don't have to like pizza it up on Monday and then come rolling on a Wednesday going, ah, you know. I think it's maybe a little more fun to hit the sort of climactic end of semester you know what I mean, with the pizza on the last day of the semester. And it is the last day of classes is the 28th. So I probably lean toward Wednesday. Okay, who has not voted? Do we know who's like just sitting on their hands over here? 6, 9, 12, 13. Yeah, we got 4 non-votes. Come on. Come on, yo. Um, I'm actually gonna cast my vote for Wednesday, so I'm gonna tip that up just a little bit. Anybody? Wednesday? Are we going Wednesday? I trust. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No. These are the people that are like logged in for the role, and then they're just vanishing after that. Oh, there you go. There you go. Thanks, Braden. Yeah. No, it's a good time. I mean, it's just I think it'll be great. You may want to scout the menu beforehand. Oh, yes, Devin, you and Tim can come too if you'd like. Um, you're welcome to come. Although I still have a meeting with you two coming up anyway at Nico's. But if you'd like to come, I think you'd be more than welcome. Okay, I'm now putting it into my calendar. Let me see. All right, 2:30. 2:30 on the 28th. That should be a party. It should be a little bit of a party. I hope so. We've all suffered plenty, I think, this whole freaking last year. Okay, there we go. Yeah, we got 12. Couple slackers still. I think we know who they are. I mean, we can actually tell, but it's okay. I know it's evened up. I'm gonna go. I'm tie breaking. I'm going Wednesday. Wednesday train. Okay, everybody got that? Wednesday. April 28th, 2:30. Nikos. Be there or be square. Okay. All right. That's good. That's probably the most important discussion we've had all semester. Okay. Should we talk boring crap? Should we talk let me see. All right. All right, just get myself lined up. Okay, ready? Activity diagrams. Yeah, this is a hard phase of the semester when it's really hard to care, honestly, and just understand that I don't know if most professors like fess up to this, but we all feel it. Okay, students, doctors, professor, factors. By the way, I want to just say again, in the spirit of design, I offer you 2 memes today. This first one, where is it? Yeah, I guess I can't really even point to it. It's on OBS. It's on my stream. I thought she was wearing a black dress with her hands on her hips. Like me too, right? It's like you're like, oh, cartoon body, and you're like, okay, that's just an example of funky design, that little bit of law of unintended consequence, where you thought you were doing one thing, and then when you put it all together, it pops out as something different. Toilet Man as a superhero, you know, I think we can do better than Toilet Man. Although wasn't there, what was it, Captain Underpants? Underpants Man? So there is Captain Underpants. I don't know if it's a little bit related to Toilet Man, but again, just, Captain Underpants. Yeah. Okay. All right, my friends, my friendly friends, let's do this thing. Let's talk a little bit about activity diagrams, and then we'll. By the way, I want to hear about state machines. I told you that over the weekend you were supposed to kind of second half of the week, right, and then in through the weekend, that you were supposed to go scouting state machines out in the wild. State machines in the wild. I want to know what you found. I want to know what your experience was. Just any like war stories about state machines that you found in the wild.
I think that I broke my washing machine.
Oh yeah, trying different things.
Yeah, it's just that now that the buzzer always goes off, like there's not an option to turn it off.
Really? But you put it into the state perhaps somehow? You think maybe?
I'm not sure exactly what happened. we just Yeah, I just
Huh.
did it a little bit out of order, and now it's like, nope.
Wow, Blake, I'm really sorry. I'm this much sorry. I mean, but I am non-zero sorry.
It's okay. It still works. It just buzzes all the time instead of only when it's on now.
But wait, when does it actually buzz now?
Oh, it buzzes when it's done, is what I mean.
Yeah, but it's supposed to
Oh,
buzz.
sorry. Not the washer, it's the dryer.
But the dryer buzzes when it's done. But that's what it's supposed to do, right?
Yeah, but there's supposed to be an option to turn the buzzer off.
Oh, you can't turn the buzzer off now. But it's not like it's buzzing nonstop while you're trying to sleep and stuff.
Yeah, it's like 2 seconds, so it's no big
Okay.
deal.
All right. Okay, what else? What else? War stories from out in the field. Um, okay, Braden, explain. Is this something you actually came across, or were you just dropping this on us? Um, oh, okay. Wait, hang on. I'm going to open this up.
Not that particular one. I just found a picture of one on the internet, but I have seen one recently.
Yeah. Well, no, it's interesting. I want to drop it over here. Um, right. Press your own penny. And it's got, I got to get over here so I can see it. It actually has the little state machine, right? State 1, 2, 3. Place penny and quarters into slots and push. Do you notice that placing the penny that you're going to smash and the quarters is sort of like concurrent? That's concurrency, right? At that step, they
Yeah.
all need to happen, right? All three of those have to be there. So there is now that's interesting, right? And then how would you diagram that, right? Because you'd have to have, probably you're putting one of those in at a time, but you don't care which one, and they've all got to be like, each has to be in place. Then you can push the thing. So that's interesting, right? To get to that. So there's a state of putting coins in, and then when all the coins are in, we're actually at a state where you can now push the little handle unit, right? And then what do we got? Place penny and quarters into slots and push. There's our trigger. Number 2, press button to make your choice. Apparently there's A, B, and C. Okay. Paris, Vegas, and Paris. But where is this thing? Probably Vegas. What happens in Paris stays in Paris. Oh, and there's ABC. You know what? This is, wait, whose was this? Who was doing this? Hang on. I've now lost that part. Hang on. That was Braden. This is actually not a bad bit of interface study, is it? As a case study, right? Because it's kind of idiot proof, really. It makes you want to put the things in the slots, right? You've got the ABC buttons that have a picture that match the pictures up here that are bigger, right? There's no miscue, right? There's like, I can't see the A because of the hand, but B with the Vegas, and there's B with Vegas, C with Paris, and there's C with Paris. With the only gotcha being really just that there's an angle on the representation on the top, and it's vertical on the bottom, which means there is a slight. Do you feel it? Do you feel the slight cognitive overload? When you look up and you see the Eiffel Tower at an angle and you look down and it's straight, I mean, I'm not saying it's big and you can't overcome it, but I'm just wondering, do you feel just in, and I need responses
I
to
think
this.
the way that they turn it is just showing that the actual shape of the penny is the same when it's stretched out. And this is just comparing, like, one of them is sideways and one of them is right side, is up, like, they have a different, I forgot what
Okay.
that word is.
Orientations?
Yeah, a different
Oh,
orientation. I think
right.
that's
Because
just kind of
Vegas
gangster.
Vegas down below is actually sideways on the stretch, but horizontal on the text. And then Paris is vertical on the orientation, but also straight horizontal for the text. But that notwithstanding, did you notice just a tiny little, when you go Paris to Paris, there's a slight, your brain had to work just a little bit to go, yeah, it's the same. It was only like,
Yeah.
it was only like 0.0001, whatever, work units. But there was just like kind of like oh, yeah, they're the same. But I had to go to consciousness for an instant instead of it's no barrier at all, right? There ideally with design, there's no barrier whatsoever. And then it's just all visceral. It's like right there, In fact,
I think the buttons could have had A, B, and C on them, and then just had the representation up above. And then it kind of looks like that's a plate you can swap out if you put different presses in there. Like the top one looks kind of like an insert. So if they just put A, B, and C, they could change it, and they wouldn't have to change the buttons because they would always have the same letters
that's true.
on them.
As a sort of
So that would probably be better.
as a
And
maintainability issue.
you wouldn't have that cognitive dissonance.
Yeah. And then you've got receive your pressed penny, and then is souvenir spelled correctly? Because that the I on souvenir is a little bit crushed in there and feels funny from a spacing perspective. But anyway, no, but this is very nice. I think this is some really decent interface and a nice little state machine starter kit for you with the 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's awesome. Thanks, Braden. Let's get that out of here. Okay, what else? What other war stories? How many of you didn't actually go looking for state machines because you're slackers?
I'll confess. I didn't have a ton of opportunities to. I didn't end up going out very much.
Man. Anybody else, though? War stories? Or confessions, as the case may be?
Yeah, I have one.
Yeah, Aaron.
I have a little HDMI splitter. So we have like a projector in our downstairs.
Okay.
And we have one output HDMI and 4 input HDMIs. And each input has like a little button that you can press, but you can only press it after you've pressed like a mode button, which puts it into a state where you can change the input.
Okay. So the remote, that whole like remote thing relative to how the HDMI thing is working. Have you ever noticed there is a thing sometimes where people are like, I've noticed this with some TVs that the remote would be like, you're pressing it and you do nothing, it's giving you nothing. And then you look down there and there's like a little button that goes TV and you press the TV button and now it works, right? Bad, horrible interface, like play the guessing game. But the reason that, and then eventually, violate the principle because when it fails, my first thought is try pressing there's like a TV button and there's like a, VCR button. I don't know what the other buttons are. But they're like different modes that you place the thing into. But there's zero indicator of what the mode is to tell you, right, what you're doing wrong, or there's no feedback or anything coming back at you.
Yeah, it literally just says mode, and like that's all it says.
Oh, this one only
was,
says mode.
Yeah, it just says mode, and then there's like 1, 2, 3, 4. And I messed around with it a little bit. I like it because we have 4 inputs into it, but I unplugged some of them and I tried to switch to that input, but it would switch to that input for like a second, and then I think it would register that there was nothing plugged in, and so then it would switch away from it.
Wow. But good debugging though. I'm impressed by the debugging, right? That's that thing with respect to, man, where do I talk about this mostly? The idea that out in industry that, did we talk about that here? That the doc is never right, you know, that the technical docs are never correct. You've got to, I think I talked about it in 2810 about learning how to be, you know, an engineer and how to think like an engineer, which is to kind of go, okay, I have no information, but it's a finite search space. So let me just start, right? Like, what if I put only one cable in and the others are empty? Then can I figure out which mode goes to which, whatever? What does it actually do? What are the conditions when it works or doesn't work? And you're kind of like creating a mental model in your head of the operation. It is exactly everything backwards with the Norman principles, right? Where everything has to be in your head. And the tool itself, even the fact that it says mode, is like guesswork to even stumble upon it. Like, oh, perhaps mode will do the trick, because everyone's going to read the user doc, you know, on this remote control. Not going to happen. Anybody else? Last shot on the state machine madness. My world is always in state machine madness because I'm always thinking about these things everywhere I go and everything that I do. Let me give you one example, and then I'm going to pivot over to this thing. I've got this, you can't see this, but I've got a printer scanner right here. If I do, this is an HP, and I don't know what happened. HP always historically has been the go-to brand, the high-quality brand. It's a color laser jet, and when I go to do a scan, right? If I scan a multi-page document on the flatbed scanner, right? Turns out there is a sheet feeder that, for some reason, I haven't yet been able to figure out how to put a document in the sheet feeder and have it just come out with like straight up scans instead of scans that are all just a little bit skewampus, if that's a word. But when I do scan and I do a multi-document, I'm up, do the thing, and then it'll go, you know, do you want to go again? In fact, I'm just going to do it. And I can't really show you this because just the angle's not good. But I'm just going to recite it to you, and maybe I'll document it later. But I can go, oh yeah, I want to do this on a USB drive. And then I go scan to, everything is copacetic so far. And I'm going to scan to a PDF, right? And I say save. Now, first of all, when I go to do this scan, right, it goes scan to USB, save as PDF, file name, scan, and it goes, and down in the lower right hand in green, it goes save. Okay. Now, why does it say save? It ought to say scan, right? It's all set up. I say save, and it goes scanning page 1. It doesn't say anything about saving anything. Save. Then it goes saving page 1. Add more pages to scan.pdf, and I go, yeah, add page. Place the next page on the scanner, too many words, glass, and touch start scan to continue. I press start scan. I'm just scanning, by the way, nothing on my printer. Say it goes saving page 2. Okay. Am I done? I say finish. All right. It goes scan saved successfully on memory device. I'm back to the original screen where in the lower right hand corner it says save. And my instinct in that moment is to feel like, oh, I've got to save the file that I just scanned. I mean, there was message in the words that said it saved it. At this point, if I say save, what actually happens is it's a brand new scan. It's just really dumb, really dumb and confusing messaging, which has been bugging me a lot. And so for me to sort of manage that thing, I have to understand the state machine, basically. I have to, in my own mind, internalize the fact that when I say finish, I'm done. And then when it says save, that doesn't mean save. It means scan a new document. I should not have to store that up here in order to use this printer. Okay, here we go. Oh, the mirror, Blake, to show you this thing? Yeah, that would work. Stephen found this out this weekend. Let me take a look. I'm going to throw it over here, Stephen, just because you shared it. What's the start state, though, Stephen? I'm happy, maybe. I don't really, maybe it doesn't matter. There's no entry point into the state machine. You're just in it. And time passes and you become grumpy. You eat, you become happy. Time passes. Don't mess with me. Oh, if you don't eat, this is the hangry. This is the hangry chart. Or then you eat when you're in the don't mess with me state. You eat, you go back to happy. More time passes without eating. I'm going to destroy the next foolish mortal who talks to me. Yeah, I eat. Yeah, no, this is the hanger. This is the hanger state chart. That's great. It's true. This is how it works. Let me see. Okay, get rid of that. All right, that's pretty good, Stephen. Thanks for sharing that, man. Okay, let's do a little activity diagram till 3:45. You think at the end of the semester, I have a cheat sheet up here with my class schedule on it, and I have to remind myself every time, like, because when you're walking to class, it's like the whole system like reminds you, it carves it into your head. When you're sitting at the same spot for every class, yeah, and you're not getting up to go anywhere. It's like when do things start and finish? Let's talk about activity diagrams. We've only got two more kinds of diagrams to talk about. Then we'll do. And by the way, I do have the notes. I've been just, man, it's been one thing or another this whole semester between everything, but I'm still trying to bloody catch up. But let's do activity diagrams. Yeah, okay. Here's the kind of stuff that we model with activity diagrams. We can model just, logic, business process, workflow. Think of workflow, right? What's the process by which certain things happen? Well, it turns out that one way to model certain kinds of software systems is as a workflow. You got to do this, then you do that. A lot of times you're hauling data with you. Do this to the data like an assembly line for what to do to the data. Hand it off over here, then over here, hand it off over there. Anything that looks like that, a lot of sort of, discrete event simulation can sort of fall into this, where you're going to, model, for example, a warehouse, right? Or you're going to model the restaurant, behaviors, gather real data, and then watch that, with that discrete event simulation, have objects that, like, on every tick, the whole thing moves. It ticks, the whole thing moves, and individual objects are doing what they do, so you can gauge, level of efficiency, where the bottlenecks are, where the servers are running into each other, and then you can try to, do those kinds of simulations in such a way that you can optimize to service or to quality or to, the food, temperature of the food, or level of tips, or, any number of things, as long as you can, sort of model it like that. But again, just understand that some software, it's basically implementing something that actually works like that runs like that does these different things, right? So a little bit like a flowchart, except for the parallelism. Let's see. whenever the behavior of the system you're building, remember when I said that when you realize that the system you're trying to build really is a state machine. If I'm going to build software to run a gas pump, I'm going to build that software as a state machine. That is how I'm going to do it. Okay. It just occurred to me. Do you feel like, I don't know if there's any classes anywhere where you actually build code to do, state machines. Is that what is that a thing? Does that occur anywhere?
I think it depends on who you have for your discrete math too.
Okay. All right.
And when I started out in the architecture class this semester, they discussed a little bit there, but not. You're right. There's not a whole lot.
Yeah, well, because let me just say this by way of, verbal verbal exposition. The idea would basically be that you've got a bunch of states like, what are we just dealing with? Whatever, gas pump, or whatever. The idea is really just that there's just this endless loop. As long as the state machine is running, there's a loop, and it's like a big switch statement. And the switch is based on the state numbers. So and you can also do like, define some word or characters to equal like 1. This is 2. This is 3. So it could be like, st underscore init, or whatever. And or they could but they could also just be state 1, state 2, state 3. It's better to probably use some things that have a little more, symbolic names, right? But the idea would just be that all you really do is just go, okay, state equals 1 or state equals init, whatever, your little state variable. And then you're just going to do this big for loop that never ends unless, like, while state is not equal to quit, right? While state's not quit, go. And what is it? A big switch statement. Actually, doesn't have to be that big, but right, it's just going to kind of go, okay, switch on state 1, call the routine to do state 1. State 2, call the routine to do state 2, right? That's it. That's it. Then over in those routines, you do the behaviors that need to happen during that state. And if you need to transition to a state, then while you're in that state, you say state, gets state 7. And then you just pop back out. You're back in the switch statement. You get to the top. Oh, state 7, switch statement number 7. You call that one. You got to be able to hand that state variable around. Could be global variable, could be passed in and out, could be any number of ways. Does that make sense? That's it. That is the sort of, idiomatic pattern, probably. Maybe it's more of a design pattern. I don't know, but it's kind of an implementation pattern, right? For how to actually build a state machine. And the only trick is the switch statement that switches on the state. And every state has its own routine. And then inside that routine, if you need to change states, you change the value of state. And then you pop back out and you switch again on the new state. If you need to stay in the same state because you're waiting for something to happen, then you pop back out and you're back in the same spot. Does that make sense? That's it. That's it. Just that simple. Down in assembly language, where we talk about this in 2810, you can literally just set up like a jump table where the state is just an index into a jump table. And the jump table is nothing but a bunch of addresses, right? So entry 0 is the address of the routine or the object or the whatever that manages state 0. And at location 1 is the address of the function, the method, the routine that manages state 1, etc. And all you do is just jump in direct through the table, indexed from the state. Boom, state machines in assembly language. Right there, in 20 seconds, I taught you everything you need to know to do that, based on what you already know now. Okay. Sorry for the, it's gonna stay the same size. Sorry for the textual difficulty I'll try to talk you through this just a little bit. Here's our starting spot, an initial node. It's common, right, with a lot of these, whether they're state diagrams or activity diagrams or something where there's a flow, like a temporal flow, right? There's an initial node. This represents some kind of a fork in what's going on. And then this is parallelism, by the way. What's on the left, what's on the right. A join where everything kind of comes back. Typically, I think that this is almost like an AND gate kind of thing where they both have to kind of be ready, then I can go, you know. It's also a lot like if you studied this in software engineering stuff, like Pert Charts, right? Think about a Pert chart, right? Isn't this a lot like a Pert chart? That I've got to get a certain thing, then I'm going to split these. Once that happens, these two things can happen. Like once I receive an order, I can fill the order and I can send an invoice, right? And eventually they do different things and they're going to join back together. They both have to be done before I can close the order. Same thing, right? That looks a lot like Pert charts. Let's see. Okay, talk to me. How does this affect your design? What does it do? What does it make you think? What are the thoughts that it makes you think about your design?
Well, it makes you think a lot about behavior.
Okay.
That literally is what it's documenting, but you need to know how behaviors relate to each other and sort of dependencies between them, and that's going to affect some of the other types of charts we've talked about as well.
Yeah, no, I think that's right, Sam. I think that the term dependency is a really critical idea here, right? Because I've got to do certain things. If I have to do certain things before I do other things, but unlike a state machine, I'm not just sort of potentially endlessly cycling, right? Like the alarm clock. Remember we did the alarm clock? You plug the alarm clock in, and unless you power off, the alarm clock stays forever kind of in this mode. The activity diagrams are they're trying to get you started and then do a thing and then wrap it up. So this could be like any kind of processing, could be order processing, could be accounts payable, could be cutting all the checks, at your company, anything that that is software reflecting a behavior that looks like that. That'll make some sense. What's really interesting, and this is a phenomenon that maybe you perceive it. You're all so much younger than me. And the relevance of that's a truism here, but the relevance of that is I remember there were times back in the day, back before the computer, in which, a little bit of a Rube Goldberg. That's a B on that one, Braden. Go with RUBE, Rube Goldberg machine. But back in the day, you would maybe just get on the phone, whatever, and you'd call somebody and say, "Hey, this thing happened stupid. Can you fix that for me?" "Oh yeah, let me take care of that, blah, blah, blah." And you could get on the phone and they could do a thing. Now what happens now in the last 50 years, what happens is that you call somebody to try to get something fixed, and it's not uncommon to have them say, "The system doesn't let me do that." Have you encountered that before? The system doesn't let me do that. Where there's nothing necessarily, wrong. Right? There's nothing necessarily wrong with what it is you want them to do, but the software, in other words, the process embodied in the code doesn't match the process, as it existed out in the world before the code. And once the code shows up, then it actually affects and changes the process itself. Sometimes gets morphed based upon what that computer does. I always hate that. The computer The computer. It's so dated. It's so 30 years ago. I'm just not real good with the computer. With like it's a phenomenon. Like it's an evil entity. The computer kind of is sometimes. No, but you know what I mean? You know what I mean? That the embodiment of the process in the software now governs. And the fact that there's this thing you could do, but the software doesn't allow you. Here's an example. Here's an example. My bank, which I'm not real happy about all the aspects of my bank. I won't name the bank, but it's a local credit union here in our valley. And I remember trying to just set up like auto pay kinds of stuff, and literally, so you have like some overdraft accounts, right, or a loan for a car loan, or right. And if you happen to dip into the overdraft, you'd like to have an auto pay that sets up to pay that off, right? It turns out that on some rollover of their software, they reached a state, as it were, in which if a loan, hang on, sorry, I'm missing the thread here about.
Oh, it's not print. It's just about the
Yeah,
image
about the
showing.
image. Yeah, sorry, Blake. It is, yeah, YouTube. Also, the slides are on Canvas. I think they should be. No, but anyway, what am I getting at? It turns out that if you set up an auto pay by calling in to the branch office and having somebody do it for you there at the branch, okay, and then that's an auto pay that happens. Or you jump on the little login to their automated system and you do it yourself. Two different maintained systems that depend upon whether it was the cashier, not the cashier, but somebody at the branch office who did it for you, or whether you did it through the website. And they were different. And they couldn't even see the ones that you had done and set up via the website. And you couldn't see or control the ones that they had set up in the branch office. Okay. That is just absurd, right? But that's what happened when software took over and software became the precedent for what the right thing was. Blake said, at my work, I do electronic medical records, send orders to pharmacies. When people try to refill meds, we just send an exact duplicate of the first order. First? I've had people want to send refills with fewer doses than the original, like tapering, like med tapering. But our system is limited to exact duplicates, so they can't do it. Wow. Right? So there's a process that actually makes sense. Thank you, Braden. There's a process medically. There's a process, but the software is broken, won't accommodate that. So you're stuck with this funny reality. Fascinating.
Yeah, it is. It's because I guess that use case just wasn't covered when it was designed, but
Right.
people have to do all sorts of weird, wonky things to work around it, like ordering them in irregular quantities so that they end on an even refill number or something.
Yeah. Right. You're gaming the system because the system becomes now the boss of the whole thing. Right. That's now the the thing we sort of bow to, is the software embodiment. But because the alternative, you can't go like freelance. Here, I'm just going to go get you some from the back. Here, let me go get you some narcotics from the back because the system's being stupid. In fact, you know what's interesting? Wow, where was I? I was at a drive-through. I don't remember, but it was a fast food drive-through somewhere in Lehigh, and their system was down. I mean, it feels like it might have been Chick-fil-A based upon just the volume of the traffic. it might have actually been Chick-fil-A, but it feels like it wasn't. Um, but basically, the computer system was down, right? For some reason, just malfunctioning, doing something stupid, and it was kind of rush hour, lunchtime, and I just remember, I got up there to, you're at the next spot to pay, and they're literally just like, this one's on the house, and I'm like, and they were just doing that to everybody. This is on the house. It's on the house. Go. And I was like, what's the occasion? I mean, I want to know, right? Like, what's the occasion? And then the guy was like, system's down, can't take your money anyway, so enjoy. So they were just taking orders, man, just taking orders. Because what are you going to do? Send everybody away? No, you're going to curry some favor here. You're going to take a little bit of a hit financially today, but you're going to curry a lot of favor. You're going to. I think it was the reason I think it might be Chick-fil-A was because it was pretty good form from a sort of a manage the situation. But I don't remember honestly which. See, it didn't work to curry favor with me. Yeah, that's right, Devin. Go back. That's right. Rip back around and order some more. That's yeah. I did have the thought like I'm gonna go back around and get me another couple cookies. So right, but anyway, but you see what I mean though, is it's like the computer is down. Back in the day, it wouldn't be an issue, right? We'd be paying with cash anyway, instead. Which now, when you think about just like swapping cash with like everybody's like touched all this cash, it's all been through so many hands, so much disease. You know what I mean? I think we're never going to quite be the same societally after this pandemic. Anyway, good thoughts on that. Really good thoughts. What this part here is doing down over here is it's a little more complex. We're kind of trying to blow it up here, okay? We're decomposing this action. We're going to go fill the order. I need my glasses. Over here, I've got, hang on, let me get this a little closer. Over here, I've got, when I'm filling an order, there's a situation in which there's a priority order. That's this one. And there's a decision point, right? That diamond. And if it's priority order, it's overnight delivery. And if it's otherwise, it's regular delivery. So a little decision moment. Then we kind of merge on back. And, so there's two different actions that are conditional. This kind of just breaks that down a little bit more, like shows you what the order actually looks like. Again, it's like, the activity name, input parameter, the order comes in. And this is like order delivery. And there's the if then else rush order. I don't like the fact, again, these are from Fowler, but I don't like the fact that these are not matching these, but the concepts here, that I've got regular delivery versus overnight delivery, right? And then I can still pop out the other side with the order as an output parameter. So that's the idea there. Now I can also, if I want, okay, back it up. This is one way to do this in UML. Here's the alternate way to do it. I put this little, I'm just going to, once again, it happens every so often. I'm just like, man, I know what they're trying to do with this, but I'll be danged if that doesn't look like, the 4 on the floor gear shift pattern, missing the upper left vertical line. You give me an upper left vertical line right here, and that's 4 on the floor, gear shift with reverse either down or up, depending upon your clutch, the whole whatever. I don't like it. It's Triton's thing. It just to me has too many. It's too close to too many other meanings. But it's trying to say blow this box up. It's trying to say this box can be blown up. So that's cool. As opposed to, something a lot more grungy like that.
So does this mean that the order is being passed around through this whole cycle then? Not that this whole thing is an order, but that the order is what's making its way through this machine.
Yeah. I think that's right. And it's not super clear, right, from the graphic, but there is, you receive an order, and so I'm going to fill that. In other words, the order, I think I've got to kind of like split the order in a sense, like send a copy of the order to the fill the order, another copy to the send the invoice. They've each got to have access to that information. Pointer to the object so that they're all talking about the same object, but one is going to, invoke orders, the send invoice method, and the other one is going to invoke, some other methods to like, tell me what your priority is, that kind of thing. Rush or no rush, tell me about that kind of thing. Yeah. So it's really like, it really is kind of like data flow, right? Here comes the order, it moves, as the order comes down, it contains all the information, stuff is popping, stuff is happening, and then the order is closed, and presumably the order gets filed somewhere for archival purposes. Yeah. And then this, if we want to, again, we're going to back up. We can indicate in the activity diagram the invocation of a specific method, like order colon. Yeah, send invoice. So we can actually, so you can say send invoice, and oh, by the way, as a reminder, that's the method to send the invoice. Fine. Let me see. Yeah, you reference the order class in the send invoice method. I don't know why that says implicitly. I think I should say explicitly. No? I'm pretty sure I wrote that, but I think I maybe meant explicitly. That's not implicit. It's explicit. So I can also, what are some things? Well, maybe what I'm trying to say with that one is you don't have to blow that up, because you could just implicitly reference the order class, But anyway, the whole idea here is I can, in the case of this deliver order, we sort of showed you the example of hiding information. If I blow it up, it would look like this. Otherwise, I can kind of hide it. I can also see right here with send invoice, I can go lower and I can go deeper, right? So I'm just kind of like, I can manage the level of abstraction. I can have that level of abstraction be consistent across everything. I could have it be inconsistent for purposes known to me, My biggest concern, honestly, with with diving down and putting like order colon send invoice, is this design is still going to be real if I change, it's like high coupling between this diagram and my code. You know what I mean? And I think it's maybe a little cleaner if I don't say this, unless I've got some automated system that like pulls that detail in, and if I want to show it, it's there. And if I change it in the object, it somehow gets reflected. You know what I mean? I think there are tools like that. Then to me, that makes a little more sense. But this just says maintenance nightmare written all over it. The more implementation details I have in a design doc, to me, the worse, unless those implementation details are automatically updated when I change the implementation. Okay, swim lanes, one of my favorites. I like the swim lanes. I like the swim lanes from a design perspective. Okay, how are we doing? We got a few more. Yeah, we got a few more to go. We probably won't get all the way through this today, and that's okay. Let me see. Yep. Okay. Yeah, the idea here is that we have the ability with what they call swim lanes, right? The idea, the other nice thing about swim lane is, as it's a pattern, right? Swim lane would be the name of a pattern. Is it a design pattern? No, I would probably call it an idiomatic pattern in UML. So idiomatic patterns don't relate to programming languages. They just relate to implementation detail, in this case, UML. So the ability to take this thing, I already had this whole thing, right? But what did I do? I stretched it a little bit, and then I drew lines, and I called it swim lanes. And everybody, the metaphor of a swim lane, you already get it. Everybody's got their own lane, jump in, go, and you're swimming side by side. This basically, the swim lane tells you a couple of things. One is I can name it, like I can have a finance swim lane, a fulfillment swim lane. So when I want to see all the things that relate to fulfillment, I look in the fulfillment swim lane. All the things relating to finance, I look in the finance swim lane. Oh, yeah. All the things relating to customer service, I look in that swim lane. That's all. I just like it. I think it's a very nice, I complained about Triton and how he lost his little, what do they call that thing? The trident? King Triton? I don't know. What do you call it? What is Triton's 3 thing? What do they call?
It's the trident.
Is it a
It's a trident.
It's a trident. Literally 3 teeth, right? There we go. We've cracked the code on that. Okay. Yeah, I don't like that. I do like this. So, sometimes Dr. K is pleased. Sometimes he is not pleased with a particular design decision made by some folks that had to put a stake in the sand. Once again, what does it lead you to think about? What about bullet number 2? I want to get your sense of that. What software organization issues does it lead you to think about? You're a software manager. It's a relatively small company. You have this one product, which is this order fulfillment software. Okay. And you've got, 30 people working for you, 30 developers in this company. Relatively small. Yeah. And you see this diagram. Now, this is crazy overly simplified, right? Grant that in reality, this is going to be much more complex than this. But you see this activity diagram of your software and how stuff works. Does this lead you to think any thoughts as the vice president about the organization of your software or about your software organization? The group you manage. What does it make you think about? Ponder that. I have water about 3 feet that way, but I got to go around the desk. But I'm plugged in, so talk to me.
I was going to say it really, it can help you think about the structure, not necessarily on an implementation level like you were saying, but right, you have sort of 2 things here, right, for filling orders and sending invoices, and the different paths can mean different projects to work on or teams to do things, and can contribute to organizational management in that way.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on that? I think dead on. Any other thoughts anyone want to pile on or take it a different direction? I've got my own things I want to say about that. But what do you think? And it's okay if you don't have to think. I mean, you do have to. I want you to think. There is an ancient sort of law in software referred to as Conway's Law, named after Mel Conway, who I feel privileged to count as a friend. It's very old. There's a long story behind that, like how I got to know Mel Conway. But he wrote a paper in 68. It was in the 60s. And it was about the way in which software and organizations sort of mirror each other. What he basically said was that software, that organizations tend to build software that looks like the organization. That was the big punchline. Software that organizations build software that look like it. So for example, if you've got 3 teams and one of your teams is in Provo and one of your teams is in Austin and one of your teams is in Boise, right? It's difficult for the teams to take Boise and Provo will have this one thing, right? And Austin will have the other thing. If there's any way to split it into 3 things, you'll tend to gravitate toward doing that. Now, keep in mind, he writes this in the 60s. We didn't have anything remotely like the telecommunications infrastructure, the tools, things that we now have, right? But what's interesting is, so there are situations where the organization of the team itself, of the group, naturally gravitates toward, well, the way he put it was, if 3 developers are going to build a compiler, it's going to be a 3-pass compiler, right? Each one just takes 1 pass. Kind of makes sense. And it really relates when you think about compilers, right? And the notion of a 3-pass compiler, you start to think about activity diagrams to describe that, Anyway, but what I think, and I've thought a lot about it over the years, I think that it's true. I'm quite confident that those sort of geographic boundaries and other kinds of influential things cause you to organize the software in a way that reflects the realities of your dev team. But I think there's also kind of a flip side to the whole thing, which is that sometimes the software, by its nature, suggests a certain number of teams or a division of teams. So for example, this one here, this swim lane, if this is accurate, which it's not going to be accurate or complete, but this swim lane diagram, it suggests 3 groups, does it not? It kind of suggests 3 development groups. The fulfillment group that's going to learn all about the fulfillment process. So they're going to handle filling the orders, delivering the orders, interfacing with warehousing and all the various kinds of fulfillment services, and it's going to manage all that stuff. The finance group, is going to deal with, this is, by the way, oversimplified, because that once I send an invoice, it doesn't just go receive payment, close order. That's not a thing. It's got to have an entire, there's probably a little state machine embedded in all that of what you do while you're trying to get paid. At this point you go to collections, at this point, etc. But then what happens is, I don't know what you want to call this, Knutson's corollary to Conway's law. But I think that there's actually a sort of a symbiotic relationship between the organization of software and the organization of the development group, that once they interlock, they begin to make it very difficult to innovate in the maintenance process. Does that make sense? Because what if I've got this thing that begs for 5 teams, and I have 3 teams in Provo and 1 team in Boise and 1 team in Austin, and we're kicking, and all of a sudden at some point it's like, well, really, architecturally the whole thing needs to change. The structure of the teams gets built around what the software is that you're maintaining at a certain size. I'm talking about when you're maintaining a part of a system and you're not, when you're doing your projects, your dumb little school project stuff, right? And in the grand scheme of things, I know some of them are big, like the compiler, but in the grand scheme of things, it's still a dumb little project. And the reason I know this is because one person can handle it. When just you can handle it, that's a dumb little project. You don't get any of these organizational struggles when one of you can handle the entire thing. Cognitively, you don't have to split anything up. Anyway, that's all. That there creates this inertia So like, here's the software and here's the dev team. And once they interlock, you know, they reinforce each other to keep each other doing the same kinds of things. It is literally one of the ways in which software development organizations and big companies lose responsiveness. Knutson's corollary to Conway's law. You heard it here first, folks. Okay. All right. Now, we're about out of time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause. We'll come back to right here. Swim lanes, the last swim lanes. And then I think literally there are, let me just look. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more slides on activity diagrams. And then a little bit more of a kind of a live discussion where I've grabbed a bunch of workflow diagrams, essentially activity diagrams that are not UML, so that we can kind of break those down and have sort of some live discussion of kind of like, you know, like, don't like, confirm or deny, you know, what would you do differently, that kind of thing. Okay. Alrighty. And that's it. We're out of time. We are out. And good luck on all your project crapola coming down the pipe.
Take care.
Thanks. I'll see you.
Okay. See everybody.